So either everyone is going to get to see us eat, or no one is going to get to see us eat. This is an experiment. Who knows?
That seems like some weird fetish thing.
What?
People seeing a seat.
God damn it.
Definitely now.
Well, it's so funny because it's not really a fetish thing. I know that people like
Now on my
really
water.
like watching like mukbangs and stuff. I can't watch them because the sound of people chewing grosses me out.
Mm.
And I say that as we chew and eat on a recording. We learned that we can clip clips easier if we just put the whole video in our scripting program that we use to edit instead of just doing audio only. That makes it easier for Ariel because she's the one responsible for the clips and it would make her
It
life
was
easier.
so fast and convenient.
I know.
I was like,
I did it for one of the
this just took
episodes.
away hours of my life.
Yeah, and she can clip as she goes. And I learned some other things about it too, like that it can auto pick clips, which will be really absolutely fucking hysterical when Ariel learns that and then sees what the program names the clips because it's so funny. They also give a little brief description of what the clip is, and it kills me every time. But so we decided we had the plans at some point to move everything to video because honestly, editing the video is not that big of a deal. It's more so just us and our timing and making sure we don't speak over each other. It's a lot of adjustment on our end. Clearly, we're not going to stop eating or drinking while we record because that's just who we are. But then you'll be able to see it, which I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. Who knows? So this is an experiment, and if it goes really poorly, y'all will just hear about me talking about it and you won't see any of it. You're welcome. But also, we are down to the final two books of this wheel, which is crazy because I feel like the wheel just fucking started.
The final countdown.
Do-do-do-do. Do-do-do-do-do. And it just so happens that actually, like the final two books, one of them, we really had one of we had Angie in mind, I feel. And then this one is one that Angie introduced me to. So I always have Angie in mind. And she bought me the entire series in paperback. They're just sitting on my bookshelf before I have to pack them away into boxes.
So we're just sharing our lumber snacks with Angie this month.
Yes. And I love that for us. We've shared a lot with Angie. But yeah, so
Oh, so this is my dip.
that looks good though.
Mm-hmm. It's cottage cheese, like blended up. I didn't blend it as smooth as I should have.
Yeah.
A little bit of taco seasoning, cheddar cheese, and Rotel, like the chili Rotel tomatoes. And then you just like microwave it and bada bing, bada boom.
Nice. These are my cucumbers.
You're
They're
eating them with chopsticks?
Yeah, well, they have sesame oil, chili oil, soy sauce, rice vinegar, a little bit of sugar, salt, something else. It's like a whole like thing. And the chili oil's not that bad. Because the problem is the last time I made this, I needed chili oil and I didn't have it, so I used a little bit of sriracha, which was not the best mix for that, and that was a lot spicier than
And not
the
the same
chili.
thing.
Not the same thing, but it's still mixed together really
Yeah,
well. But
I love cucumbers.
the difference in spice was a lot. This is fantastic, and I
I was
have
gonna say I
enough of
like chili
this.
oil.
Yeah, I don't ever use it, so I had to buy it, and I didn't. Trying to buy it was a pain in the ass because like one place only had like a $10 one. I was like, I don't want to spend $10 on a tiny thing of chili oil. I understand, but I don't think you guys understand also how poor I am, and I don't want to do that. So but it's good. And
Yeah.
Grace had the Korean sweet potato yesterday, and she loved it. It's
Oh, good.
delicious. And then she did forget her kimchi in the fridge, though, because she was going to bring it with her to school. And she forgot it, but that's okay. So, anyways, this week, Flawless by Elsie Silver.
Cowboy time.
It is cowboy time.
Rodeo.
Yeah. And, anyways,
Anyways, yes,
I
we're
don't know
going
why
to the
we're being
rodeo.
so awkward about this in the beginning.
Oh, I think we're just hungry
I
and
think
we
that's
needed to
it.
eat for a minute. We need to get the food in our body and then we'll be fine.
Mm. So, everybody, if you are hungry or you're at a
Have a
point where
lumber
you
snack.
can, take a lumber snack, take a moment, breathe, eat something, and
Drink your water.
drink your water, stay hydrated, and that's it.
Yeah. So, yes, we're going to the rodeo this week. And our book starts out with Summer, who is our FMC. She is with her father, and he's showing her a video of his client making a monumental mistake. Apparently, he represents this rodeo dude, and one of this guy's sponsors is a milk company. And he was filmed talking about how much he hates milk. Not a great look for him.
Honestly,
Worse,
which is why we can't sponsor certain things because
no.
we're like, we openly hate them.
Well, and not only that, but like this is why you should only I think people should only like genuinely sponsor things that they genuinely enjoy and approve of and
I openly sponsor cucumbers.
right. Or like right, like I would sponsor the fuck out of these because I eat them all the time. Or like the bars that I eat every day, you know? Oh, Bear Bells, yeah. Like I do those all the time. Tomatoes, chicken. Does a poultry company want to be like, "Hey, bro"? No.
Baby Bell cheese. Ugh, I
Right?
fucking love a Baby
Like,
Bell
come
cheese.
on.
I eat Baby Bell cheese every day when I'm going to work because of the protein content.
This man also has a Wrangler sponsorship. He should just stick with what he's good at,
Yeah.
looking good in his jeans. You know.
Honestly, that should be a lot of people.
Anywho, it gets worse because when he's confronted by a reporter about the video, this cowboy client ends up punching the reporter who was goading him. Summer's dad, Kip, represents Rhett, you know, the rodeo dude. And he's not happy that this sponsorship just lost them millions of dollars. Kip is trying to brainstorm how to fix this mess because once one domino goes, the rest of the sponsorships might follow suit. And that means this idiot's bottom line goes, and that hurts Kip's bottom line. And that's really the priority here. That's a problem. Summer says easy. They just need the cowboy to seem like a wholesome country boy for the press. And Kip is like, yeah, easier said than done. Because wholesome country boy, Rhett is not. It hadn't been an issue previously because they didn't have any dirt on him, but now it will be a problem. Summer thinks this is all ridiculous. She's like, who can't be behaved for just a couple of months to get out of this mess? Like,
I
Kip's
can think
acting
about 10 people.
Kip's acting like this man is a wild animal. Come on. What does this grown man need a babysitter? And Kip just looks at her and is like, yes, that's exactly what he needs. And he thinks she will be perfect for the job.
That's what happens when you open your big fat mouth.
I was about to say, perhaps she should have not opened her mouth.
Mm.
Hmm. Just saying. Rhett Who's a rodeo star? I'm pretty sure at this point he's a bull rider or a bronc rider, judging from what little I know right now thus far in the book. But he is on the older side for a rodeo star because they don't typically have a long shelf life. So he's definitely feeling it after the last go and is heading home to Calgary to get some rest, especially after all this media chaos. He's been avoiding his agent's calls because him and Kip typically only text, so he knows that if Kip is calling him, he really is in trouble.
It's just funny because honestly, I feel that. Because if there's someone you just text and all of a sudden they're calling you, something is fucked up. And if you realize you did something bad, you actively avoid answering that phone. You're like, I don't know what you're talking about.
I think I did something bad.
But it does not feel so good for him.
Kip has been his agent for over 10 years. They have this, dynamic. When he finally gets back home, he just goes straight to Kip's office to talk to him face to face. Kip tells Rhett that he has officially lost the dairy sponsorship and he has no chance of getting them back. And he has to be careful because Kip is trying his hardest to make sure he doesn't lose more. So for the next 2 months through to the end of the World Championships, Rhett needs to allow Summer, who's a part of the team there, she now works for the agency, to be his new shadow. She's going to work as his assistant and media liaison and someone to help get his public perfection polished. Mostly, she's there to make sure he stays out of trouble, and he needs to allow this. Basically, where he goes, she goes.
No, thank you.
Summer comes to meet him, and she asks him to give her his address so she can meet him there. He's like, oh, fuck. The layout for the actual texting in the book is not anything to write home about, but I do want to say I do love the texting between Kip and Rhett. It's so freaking cute. Their dynamic and their banter back and forth is just fantastic. I go on this little rant every once in a while about like the sibling group chat, and this gave me that same kind of feels that I love. So I was here for
Even
it.
if even if a layout is not like prime, I think the banter is so important when
Yeah.
it comes to text conversation in a book because some text conversation is just dry as fuck.
Mm-hmm.
Or
And it's like,
it's
why is it even
something
included?
that, or like, it's like, this is not actually like a real conversation. This is not how real people
Mm-hmm.
speak to each other. So it is really nice when the text conversation itself is like amazing.
Yeah. And they started each chapter with a text exchange, so it was nice. Rhett is avoiding Summer showing up by going out to mend fences with his brother Cade. They kind of live on this multi-family farm area, so him and his father live in one house, and his brothers each have built houses on their own areas of the property. Red is not ready to do so just yet because he's not ready to settle down and get into ranch life. He is still all about rodeo life. Rhett and his brother Cade and his brother's son were kind of meeting in the middle to work on the fence so that he can avoid her coming. His dad is there to greet Summer, though, and has no problem escorting her around to find Rhett. Scarlett explains to the men that she's just there to learn the ropes as a junior agent at the company on a more established client, to help Rhett save face a bit. Summer tells him to follow her back to the house so that they can get working on a schedule. Of course, Rhett takes his sweet time getting there.
Men.
There are three major qualifying events before the World Championships in Vegas at the end of the 2 month period. She's fairly new to the sport. All she really knows is from being around her dad and whatnot growing up. But she just got out of law school and is asking him to give her sort of a refresher slash crash course, asking how scoring works and all that. And we learn here that he is, in fact, a bull rider. I was kind of miffed that it took this long to find out, but it's not too far in.
It could be worse. It
Oh,
could be
absolutely. And we might not know
halfway.
his name.
That's true, but
We
we
knew
know
his
his
name.
name.
Hmm. Summer says she'll go ahead and book flights and hotels for those dates. Rhett's dad and Cade's son Luke come back in, as well as Rhett's older brother Bo, who gives Rhett shit because his dad spilled the beans that Summer will be staying there. They put two and two together, and Bo is like, dude, a babysitter? Luke's like, it's okay. He doesn't like his babysitter either. Summer tries to extract herself and say she's going to go into town and get dinner, but Bo, very amused by all of this, is hearing nothing of this. Says she's required to stay for dinner because he wants to hear all about his brother's shenanigans. Later that evening, the brothers and Summer go out to a pub. Rhett is still not thrilled about the whole babysitter thing and books it to the bar. Bo hangs with her though, and he's kind of a little evil and a little bit of a shit stirrer. And he ends up sending Rhett milky drinks with umbrellas in them from his future wife just to make him mad and get him away from the girls, to simultaneously do Summer's job, which is to keep him away from women for 2 months, the whole scandal thing. And the girl who's trying to get into Rhett's pants does not find this amusing in the least and is basically going feral. Rhett kind of almost thinks this is amusing if it wasn't for the fact that he just lost a milk sponsorship. And after the third drink, he storms across the pub towards the pair who are trying to hold back their laughter. Summer tries to tell him she's innocent in all this, and he tells them that he will get them back as he plops down next to them. Rhett can't. Yep. Yeah, period.
Period. Who are you, me?
That's a period. Well, it should be. Yeah. Yeah. Rhett can't sleep that night. He was hoping the drinks at the bar would help dull the pain from his last rodeo. He's in his 30s now. He's getting way too old for the sport, but he isn't quite ready to retire yet, and he doesn't want to live off pain medication. But he decides he's going to go down and get something for the night. He finds Summer in the kitchen, though, sitting at the kitchen table with a glass of water. She says she can't sleep. She had too many sugary drinks, and the next time she'll just have to have the warm milk. She apologizes for the jab, saying that jokes are just her default when she's uncomfortable. He's shocked that she's uncomfortable, and she's like, duh. Like, how is any of this something easy? Like, dude, this is not only a brand new job, but she has to follow around someone who clearly doesn't want her to be there or doesn't like her. That all he has to do is behave and keep his hands to himself for the next couple months so he can win this whole thing, and then they can both put this behind them.
Here's the thing. He's a man.
Hmm.
So
Yeah. Yeah. The
he's a
next,
man.
yeah. The next morning, after Summer gets back from the gym, she finds Rhett obviously upset. Apparently, he lost another sponsor, and Kip is trying to convince him to just say it was all a joke. He was just joking about not liking milk, as if this is the biggest tragedy in the world. She asks him why he doesn't like it so much, and he tells her about when he was a kid that his dad used to make him drink raw milk, like a glass a day. And now he just can't even stomach the thought of it.
Honestly, though, I don't like milk either. I am not a milk girly. I used to as a kid, I used to drink milk all the time. Now as an adult, no thank you. I won't even drink the milk from my cereal. I eat my cereal and then dump it down the drain. And I know that that is wasteful and that people pay good money for milk. I don't care. I don't like it. But I also would not be a milk sponsor.
That's why I drink almond milk.
I don't even like almond milk, and it's the almondy taste to it that I don't like.
Oh, I like almonds, so
I like almonds. I like almonds. I do not like anything else. Just
huh?
the physical almond. Just the nut. I sometimes like nuts in my mouth, okay? You're welcome.
Fair. She tells him that she doesn't think he should spin the story, that he has a lot in his life and he should think about his life as if it ended tomorrow, would he be happy? You know, that sort of deal. How apparently she spent a lot of time as a teenager in the hospital and came to that thought process a lot. And it's kind of been her go-to mantra or whatever. And we should also mention that as a teenager, she had a poster of young Rhett fresh on the rodeo scene on her wall. Probably courtesy of her dad, you know, being his agent. But yeah, maybe that's a little bit of a conflict of interest, possibly. But yo, she's totally over it now, don't you know? That was just a teenage crush. That was nothing.
It's fine. It's fine.
Everything's
It's
fine.
fine.
Yeah,
Everything is fine.
it's fine. The next time Summer goes to the gym, she takes Rhett with her, telling him she could help him with any injuries he has or any personal training he needs if that makes him feel better about going and places and shit. About going and shit. About going and shit. We're going to go with that. You know, makes him feel better about going and shit. His hip feels better after rest, but his shoulder is still really bothering him after the last rodeo, and he has a feeling that something more is going on with that, but he doesn't want to admit it quite yet. He does seem to like watching Summer in her gym clothes, though. She has him go through a bunch of exercises and stretches that will help him with his bull riding. That puts them in sort of a truce and a pattern for the next week where they do the gym and Summer works on traveling arrangements and scheduling interview requests, and Rhett helps his dad and his brothers around the ranch. It comes time for the first event. They go. Summer is nervous in the audience. The fact that Rhett is in his early 30s and is still doing this kind of thing is a miracle. Most of the time, people are seriously injured before that. And she's starting to wonder if he's more injured than he lets on, especially since she notices him hobbling around and taking painkillers. But he tells her that he's drawn a good bull for the evening, which she doesn't quite get. But he tells her that means it's going to be one that wants to kill him. She enjoys the show, though he's right. He did get a much crazier bull than the previous one she had watched, and she is impressed by the poetic way that he seems to ride. However, at the end, when the buzzer sounds, he makes it his 8 seconds, but his hand gets stuck when he tries to get off, and it's scary for a second, but they're able to get him off and back on the ground. But that didn't help his shoulder injury any, though. And the crowd does not seem to be as happy and cheering him on as usual. They seem pretty muted comparatively, which sucks and definitely puts a damper on his mood. Seems the milk affected more than just some drinking. Summer's enthusiastic amazement of it, though, helps, and she heads down to see him, though she notices that he's not doing awesome, so they head back to the hotel, where she goes to the store and stocks up on meds and creams. She tells him that running himself into the ground when he's already injured is stupid, that he should just sit the next one out. He tells her that he's more himself on the back of a bull than any other time, and he only feels like he's only ever been a bull rider. That's who he is. He can't just stop. He needs to do it. She says fine. She'll help him out during this time, but when they get back, he needs to let her book him massages and acupuncture appointments to attempt to manage the pain for the next couple months until he wins. And then he needs to see a doctor and deal with this. He's clearly too sore to put the cream on himself, so she helps him out. And he kind of teases her, saying, "Careful. Her dad said he had to keep his hands off her." But she just says, "Well, he didn't say she had to keep her hands off him." He likes her hands a little too much, and she makes sure that he's all set and sends him off to bed. In the morning, Summer's back at his hotel door to apply cream again and make sure he takes meds. Though she's quite the grump. Seems like she hasn't gotten any sleep all night because the heat is not working in her hotel room. And the hotel is too full to give her a new room, so she has to wait for it to be fixed. Rhett is not happy about this. Rhett does some interviews for the morning and then meets up with Theo, another young bull rider, which he has taken under his wing. Theo's father was Rhett's mentor, but he died riding bulls. And now Rhett has taken Theo under his wing to be his mentor, the way that Theo's father was to him. The two of them make their way to the last session for the 2-day event. Rhett is happy that he seems to have drawn another good bull for the night. Good for points, not so good for his shoulder. After his wild ride, his hand comes free this time, so that's good. He looks right to Summer to make sure she's watching, and at her smile and thumbs up, he doesn't even care that the cheers aren't as loud. When they get back to the hotel, Summer's heat is in fact not fixed. Her ex calls because he saw her on TV giving the thumbs up, and I guess he pulls this manipulative bullshit all the time, every time there's maybe a chance that she is moving on. But it's also weird because I don't know why she answers his calls yet. There's obviously something going on that we don't know yet, but I think it has to do with her medical history. Just saying. Rhett knocks on her door to check the heat situation, which she did not know he was going to do, so she's busted. He's not happy and says she's not staying in there tonight. He says she's coming back to his room and that he'll sleep in the chair. No problem. See? Some know how to do that. Imagine that. Huh. Summer says, "No way, your shoulder." And he says there's no way you're sleeping in here and that they'll figure it out. They can do one night and survive each other. It's fine. They eat and she ends up having this like sauce on her face and he obviously wipes it off for her. And they have this moment where they get kind of close and you could like feel that they might kiss, but time for bed. So Rhett goes to sleep on the floor like a dummy. But again, hello. Just saying. Just saying.
Listen, I love the one bed trope though. I don't care even if they offer to sleep on the floor. But I
Yeah.
get it.
Yeah. She insists he come up to the bed because his shoulder. So they're lying there because neither one is sleeping right now. And in the awkward silence, she just blurts out asking about his mom because she, you know, has been on the ranch and the ranch has a lot of men and she hasn't seen any women. And he just says that she's gone. Summer says hers is too, which surprises him because he's like, "I thought I've heard Kip talk about his wife." She's like, "Yeah, funny story. Her mom was the nanny, apparently." Kip had an affair with the nanny while his wife was traveling, and there came Summer. She was born and signed over to Kip, and peace out. Apparently, her stepmother is a surgeon, and she did stay. And Summer feels like she just stuck around just to make everyone miserable, to pay for it.
Yeah. Her mom, trash.
And stepmother, yeah. Well, they're all pretty trash.
Honestly though,
Honestly,
like
they're all pretty trash in that situation.
that's what I'm like trash. Throw them all out.
Yeah. Summer doesn't have the best relationship with her sister Winter because of all this. but she tries with really doesn't get anywhere. Rhett tells her his mom passed away when he was 2, and he doesn't quite remember her, but his dad has never moved on. Summer says that at least Kip stuck around. He even dropped everything when she was in the hospital. I guess she had a lot of health issues growing up. She had an undiagnosed congenital heart defect, and then surgery went wrong, and there were complications and infections, and it ended up being a very long, drawn-out mess. They fall asleep, and in the morning, when Rhett wakes up to Summer cuddled against him, he only basks in it for about an hour or so before he extracts himself to go jerk off in the shower. You know, normal things. Back at home over the next week, Summer is a little more reserved and is just making sure that Rhett is going to appointments and keeping up with gym time and eating right and take care of himself. They go to get Rhett an MRI and run into Winter at the hospital, who is quite frigid in Rhett's opinion. And she takes great glee in announcing how she recognizes him because of the poster on Summer's wall as a teen. Yeah. Rhett is not having this attempt at embarrassing Summer, even though he will, in fact, tease her about this later. And in the meantime, he tells Winter that she seems to remember it quite clearly herself.
I mean, yeah.
Yeah. Winter excuses herself and off she goes. Summer asks Rhett if they can pretend that that never happened. And he says not a chance. Apparently, this hospital just happens to be the zone of coincidences because Summer also spots her ex Rob's car as they're leaving. And at her tensing, Rhett questions it. And she explains about Rob, and he tells her that the rodeo events aren't televised. So he would have had to have been searching YouTube for footage to have supposedly caught a glimpse of her, which is kind of creepy. Rhett asks if she wants to give him something else to see since he seems to have such an issue with her moving on and make it known that she's done, way done, and offers to kiss her. She's like, no, what if somebody sees? And he says he doesn't care with her. And when she sees Rob get out of his car, she agrees and says fine, but it doesn't mean anything. And Rhett growls and grabs and kisses her. Apparently, that was enough to have Rob stomping back to his car because soon enough, the door is slamming. And Rhett is back to teasing, asking if she planned their wedding while he was getting his MRI done. As they head to their car once they're on the road. Car. As they head to their car. Period. Period.
Period.
Period. Exclamation point. Question mark?
Parentheses.
Comma.
Quotation mark.
Semicolon.
Colon.
We're not going to go down that road again.
Okay, we're done.
Once they're on the road, Rhett asks Summer to tell him about Rob. And we get the bomb drop that they weren't really like a whole relationship thing. Turns out he was her fucking doctor, while she was in the hospital as a teenager. What a fucking skis. Rhett is not happy. I'm not happy. Fucking gross.
I'm not happy either. That is such an abuse of your power and position.
Uh-huh.
God damn it.
A few days later, Summer has to leave Rhett to his own devices while she goes to a staff meeting. That's okay, because he just goes to hang out with his brothers. No big deal. Yeah. No, except their scumbag neighbors keep parking their equipment on their property, and Bo has an interesting way of trying to get them not to. They're going to toilet paper the equipment. Of course, Summer catches
In
them, and
this
it's
economy?
this book must have been written pre-COVID. Summer's not happy and lays into them. Rhett and Summer end up having this little bit of a bicker moment that almost turns into another kiss, but Summer's head prevails and she goes to cool off. The next morning, Summer finds Rhett's father, Harvey, and Cade in the kitchen. Cade is all grumpy and grunty as normal, and she makes a comment about him being against good moods in general. And he says that he's working his way up to apologizing to her for putting Rhett in that position the night before. And she calls him out, saying he should be apologizing to Rhett. That if Rhett gets in more trouble, it'll take his sponsorships and his career. Cade's like, good. It's about time Rhett grew out of riding bulls, just as Rhett walks into the room, like sighing that this is the conversation again. Cade makes it worse by asking Summer if she knows that rodeo events were developed to showcase usable ranching skills, but no one on a ranch or a farm ever gets on a bull because that's asinine. It serves no point. It's just dangerous and frivolous. How Cade is on the farm day in, day out, working his ass off, taking care of his kid, being responsible. And Rhett isn't having it, saying that his whole woe is me routine is getting old and that Cade has so much in his life, but yet he's so angry about everything and
Hate is
says
pointless and useless and has no need. Bruh. I'm just kidding.
he just turns to Summer and says, like, let's go. Before Summer leaves, she turns to Cade and says that Rhett does this for his family, that she wasn't joking. Cade does owe Rhett an apology. Rhett's been kind of grumbly and distant around the ranch, but they head for the next showcase. Doing his interviews, and then it's his turn to get on the bull. He gets a good score, and the crowd cheers, and Summer gets this sense with everyone cheering around her as Rhett looks out into the crowd and looks at her. She just gets this feeling come over her that these people have been watching him for over a decade and they feel this ownership over him. But when he looks at her like that, he feels like hers. And then she turns it back on herself and truly thinks it's one thing to say to other people that, what if this is your last moment on earth and, would you be happy and all that? But now she's thinking truly for herself, like, would she be? And the answer is she would be full of regrets knowing she made everyone else happy around her, but she doesn't treat herself that way. And she heads for Rhett. But she's stopped in her tracks as she sees him in close quarters with the woman deep in conversation. She gets an instant jealous reaction and does not handle it well. And when she bumps into his gross rival, who's already tried to hit on her, and she was like, yuck at the time, and now he does it again, asking what she's up to, she's like, schedule's wide open. What an idiot, first of all, just idiot. He just smiles and says that he's got the perfect bar. And the man, Emmett, yells over to Rhett and says that he should bring the girl and meet them there.
Jealousy does a lot of things to a person and makes you make a lot of really stupid choices and decisions.
Mm-hmm.
This is a
But it
dumb
was just so
decision.
instant too, with like no like thought process or like just like girl.
I can understand that though, like, because it's not something that you just like, that is not something that you just think about. That is an instinct reaction.
Yeah, but
And
you're supposed to have like rational like thought to talk yourself out of these things.
I have not made rational decisions, so I understand. I fully understand.
So later, Rhett is sitting.
Okay, so here's the thing, because you seem to, okay, case in point. When and I broke up, For everyone who doesn't know, oh, I don't know why I said his full government name, his first name. That's okay. When the felon and I broke up, he was like, okay, that's fine. We'll be friends. The day, 2 days after that happened, he hit on girls in front of me. What did I do that was not rational? I made out with his best friend in front of him instead. Okay? Was I thinking? No, but I did it.
You should have been like, we're
So
no longer
some
friends. Goodbye.
so sometimes you don't do the rational things. You do the dumb things like tell him that yes, his best friend is a better kisser because he's also French.
I'm just way too quick to cut people off. Like, nope, bye. Or
I'm
cut
not. I
people.
want to burn the world down and then cut them off. Like I'm a burn that bridge at the same time person. Oops.
So Rhett ends up sitting with Theo at the bar. The girl he was talking to was a girl that likes Theo, and she was asking Rhett his advice on getting with Theo. And now Rhett's just sitting there having to watch Summer, jealous. He's doing pretty well keeping his distance until she gets on a mechanical bull and Emmett puts his hat on her and he's like, nope, and runs over and rips it off and tells Emmett to keep his hat to himself, that Summer does not know the rules. And Summer's like, what rules? Like she was about to do a body shot with Emmett, so she just turns to Rhett and says, fine, you need to do it with me then. And then Rhett he's fully in this now. He is deep in this. So no stopping the train now. And he's like, bet. So she grabs a can of whipped cream and sprays it on the shot glass and on her chest. And she's like, some dairy products for you, Rhett. And he just can't help himself and licks all the way up her chest and takes the shot and grabs her and says, let's get out of here. She asks where he thinks he's taking her, and he says away from Emmett before he tells her about the cowboy hat rule. But she wants to know what this is right here, right now. Apparently, you wear the hat, you ride the cowboy. And she's like,
That's
that's
how you
really.
that's how you save a horse, ride a cowboy, LOL.
And she's like, that's really none of your business. And things start to heat up once they make it back to the hotel. They're staring at each other down until they get on the elevator. And then this guy also gets on the elevator and stands right in between them, making it like awkward, and things kind of simmer down a little bit. And things cool off until they get back onto their floor. And she just turns to him and he says, go to bed. And she's confused. And he's just like, do it before he does something ungentlemanly like. And she just walks up to him, takes his cowboy hat off and puts it on her head. And that is all it takes. He says that he is sick of having her think that he wants everyone else but her when all he does is think about her. And he's done playing games. He asks if this were her last moment on earth, what would he want her to do? She says to ruin her. He says he's done being a gentleman, and the only thing he's ruining her for is anyone else. They crash into the hotel room, Rhett kissing Summer. He starts to disrobe her, and he's not disrobing himself fast enough. So she takes his shirt and rips it open, sending the buttons flying. So, tit for tat, he rips her bra off. She's not happy, says he owes her a new one.
Bras are expensive.
Mm-hmm.
Do not do that.
Apparently, they brought the can of whipped cream back with them because then he uses it to continue to spray and lick the whipped cream off of her. And she teases him, saying, I thought you didn't like milk. And he says, apparently, he's developed a taste for it. Once they're
I will
naked,
say milk and whipped cream are very different, okay? I will eat the shit out of whipped cream. That
yeah.
actually sounds really good right now, and I kind of want hot chocolate with some whipped cream. But anyways, Completely different. I get it.
Once they're naked and he gets her on the bed, he starts to go down on her, which he finds out no one has ever done before. And he tells her that if this was his last moment, this is how he'd want to go. And then he gets to work until she has beard burn. And then he fucks her. There's this little moment where apparently he is probably used to being like this persona when he screws people, like this people, because people want to fuck the bull rider. But she makes it very clear that she wants him, not the bull rider. And then they spend the whole night intertwined together. In the morning, when they wake up, Summer makes a comment how she's trying to figure out how she's going to continue sleeping with the client who only has one night stands, and that it would be unprofessional for her to keep doing it. But he says fuck professionalism and fuck one night stands. She says Kip might not share that sentiment. And he says fuck Kip. He could be fired. And apparently he does actually text Kip and tell him he's fired because Summer has to respond to Kip like, I don't think you're actually fired. And he's like, of course not.
I will say I do love a man who says he's going to do something and then does proceed to do it.
Yes.
So, okay.
Later on, Rhett does his interviews and then does the second night of the rodeo. And afterwards, the pair find themselves soaking in an Epsom salt bath because Rhett says if Summer insists he needs to, then she needs to be there with him. Rhett asks Summer if she could do anything as a job, what would she be doing? Would she be doing what she's doing now? She says probably not. So he asks her why she does it then. She says she enjoys making her dad happy and making him proud, and he likes having her at the office, and he gave up so much when she got sick. She feels like this is her way of being able to give back, and Rhett tells her that he knows Kip, and he knows that he would not expect some sort of repayment. He's her dad. Rhett drives them off and tells her to get into bed. She's getting sleepy. He climbs up, grabs some lotion, and starts to give her a massage. Summer's phone starts buzzing on the table. It's freaking Rob again. Rhett doesn't understand why he's even calling. Summer doesn't know, but she doesn't want to talk to him. But Rhett tells her to answer it. She asks Rob what's wrong. He says something doesn't have to be wrong to call her. She tells him he shouldn't be calling her, and then Rhett grabs her, pulls her on top of him to straddle him while she's on the phone, and starts to run his hands up her hips, causing Rob to ask if everything's okay. That he just wanted to check in on her. You know, that he saw her at the hospital the other day, and she needs to be careful with men like that. Men like what? She asks as Rhett has his face firmly in between her thighs. Rob says, not like them. Summer tells Rob Rhett is the kind of man that's man enough to eat pussy, unlike him. Which, perfect timing because then she starts calling out Rhett's name because he does this thing with his teeth and all that, and then she just hangs up.
That is one way to get the point across.
Yeah. And after she comes, she just collapses in a fit of giggles. The first dinner back in Calgary is both awkward and hilarious as Harvey asks how things on the road have been going and Summer freezes. And Bo asks if Rhett is running her into the ground, and she just shoves more food in her mouth to avoid having to talk. And she just gives this awkward laugh. She's not a good liar. And the dinner is not going well, and Kate is just like glaring at Rhett, like, what the fuck? And Rhett thinks this whole fucking thing is hilarious. So Summer just quickly changes the subject to Bo, who's deploying again soon, and how she's hoping that everyone will be able to go to the final pre-championship weekend that is right in the city of Calgary. And since it is in the city, she's hoping everyone will be there to support Rhett. His family is not very supportive of his career, actually. And Bo says he's sorry, but he's actually heading out early, and him and Harvey are making a road trip of seeing him off. Luke says he would like to go and watch, but Kate says no. Bo suggests they all go out to the pub. He wants to get in one last dance with Summer before he goes. Rhett doesn't last very long, though, before he ends up cutting into said dance. Summer warns him he needs to be careful. People are looking and they will talk. He says, let them talk. There's no one else he'd rather ruin his reputation with. And then he kisses Summer right there on the dance floor. Their time in Calgary consists of them sneaking around whenever possible while waiting for the next rodeo. They even have this moment where they decide to forego the condoms because Summer has an IUD. It's almost time for the rodeo when Summer gets 2 calls in a row from Rob, which she ignores. And then she gets a call from Winter. Kip is in the hospital. He had a mild heart attack a few hours before. Rhett and Summer head for the hospital. Summer comes in hot, laying into Winter about how wrong it was for her to wait to tell her. She had no idea if it was serious or not. If it had been serious, she could have taken away time with her father, and that Winter carries some vendetta against her just because of how she was conceived, and that is not fair. That it's her dad too. But this doesn't seem to faze Winter at all. She just kind of stares blankly. But she does perk up when Rob walks in. She's like, "Oh, good, Rob's here." And this is where I was kind of thinking that Winter was probably also sleeping with Rob the whole time. And yes, on some level I was right, but it just gets worse and worse, boys and girls. Ready for this? No, okay. Rob is Winter's husband. Bomb drop. Rhett is like, this has to be a joke. Rob very patronizingly says, no jokes here, fella. Rhett says, preying on your teenage patient wasn't bad enough, but then turning around and marrying her older sister? Winter's face goes white. And then Rob is even more of a stupid fucking idiot than we already knew and turns to Summer saying she was supposed to keep her mouth shut. Rhett tells Rob if he talks to her like that again, he will bury him. Rob just
Can I
dismiss
bury him?
Rob just dismissively says, down boy. But that's the wrong thing to say because then Rhett fucking punches Rob. What's worse is Summer looks up and she can see her father in his hospital bed with the door ajar, and he's just sitting there watching the whole thing. Rhett is apologizing to Summer. Rob is threatening to sue. Summer tells Rob that if he goes after Rhett, she will start talking. And Winter just pulls him back away. And Summer tells Rhett that he needs to go. Rhett's confused. But Summer says that this is a mess. Her dad's in the hospital. He just dropped her biggest, most complicated secret in a very big way, and he just needs to go. She needs to be here for her dad right now and not having Rhett being possessive. Rhett says fine, but just to be clear, he's not being possessive. He's being protective. And he won't stop protecting her. She says okay, and he leaves. We see Summer in Kip's hospital room talking to him, and he asks her if hoping Rob's nose is broken makes Kip a dick. She says he already is a dick. And then the weight of everything, her father lying in the hospital bed, having something so serious happening, all the stuff outside the door, just everything causes her to start sobbing. Kip asks about the Rob shit, and she just explains how this fancy, handsome doctor saved her life. Of course, she had a little bit of a star-struck crush on him, and when they ran into each other out at a pub after she got out of the hospital, he took her around driving, and things escalated from there for 2 years. That is, until Winter started working at the same hospital as him, and then he put one sister aside for the other. And that Summer had promised him she would never tell anyone because she didn't want to ruin his career. But he's always strung her along over the years, never crossing a physical line, once winter was in the picture, but it's been weird. Grabbed me.
Yeah, because he's weird.
Yeah. When Summer's stepmother arrives, she tells Summer to get out. When Summer says no, the stepmother says yes, that she's done enough for the day, that apparently home wrecking is hereditary. Summer tells her that she feels bad for her, but that she has forgiveness for her, for how utterly awful she's been to Summer her whole life, but that she's spent a lifetime hurting her dad, and she can't forgive her for making it impossible to have a relationship with Winter. She may think that she did it to hurt Summer, but it hurt Winter too, and if they had been able to be siblings, she would have been able to tell her things that she deserved to know, and that is on her. And Summer leaves. She makes it out to the waiting room and she finds Rhett there. Apparently, he's been out there waiting the whole time to make sure she was okay. Summer is upset. She tells him that that was her secret to tell, that she trusted him. He tells her that she shouldn't keep secrets that will eat her alive because she's worried about what other people think, and definitely not because someone's manipulating her into doing it. She says it's complicated and other people's feelings are involved, that her family deserved better than hearing about it like that. He apologizes for blowing up like that. She says what he did doesn't feel like him caring about her. It feels like him flying off the handle, and he should just go home and then to the hotel. He has a rodeo the next day. She just needs some space. The next day, she's visiting Kip again, and he asks her to explain what's going on with Rhett. Asks if she likes him. She says she does, but he's not like everyone thinks. Kip says he knows. He's been with him for a long time. He knows he's not loose cannon. He knew they'd get along. She's like, lovely. Weird way to be a matchmaker.
And not like the matchmaker from Mulan, because that didn't go well.
Pour the tea. We'll have you washed and dry.
I'm sorry I brought it up.
Kip asks if Summer wants to stream the event and talk about how terrible Rhett's doing. She gives in. They watch Theo take his turn, and it starts off well, but things take a turn real fast. And Theo ends up flying off the bull, lying motionless. And the bull comes back around and ignores the clown and goes for Theo when all of a sudden they see Rhett coming from the corner and throwing himself on top of Theo like a shield just in time for the bull to come. Rhett refused service so he could go with Theo in the ambulance, even though his ribs are totally fucked and he's having trouble breathing. But he gets parked in the emergency room waiting area as they bring Theo in, and then he hears Summer's distraught voice asking about him. They see each other, and she's hysterical, telling him she saw it all happen. And then she sees his ribs and says she'll go get a doctor. He says no, that the doctor will just make it so he can't ride. She's like, what the fuck? He might have internal damage. His ribs are definitely broken. He says he doesn't want to go this far without his shot at the buckle, that he'll be fine. She says it's not safe. He gets really defensive and he tells her that they slept together for a couple weeks, that she doesn't get to tell him what to do.
Sir, no. I
She just,
understand why he says it, but bro.
yeah, she just shuts down, nods at him, and walks away. Rhett is drowning his sorrows in the kitchen when Cade comes storming in because he had to hear from someone else about what happened with the bull. And he lays into Rhett about his decisions and bull riding continuously and the fact that he's going to do it again and how even Summer isn't there because he lost a good thing because he's being stupid and how he would rather have a brother home pissing him off than lose him to the stupid rodeo. Cade tells him that he needs to figure out what he loves and make that his life. And Rhett, all he can think about is Summer. Summer has been filling in for Kip at work, but he can't stay away from the place, and Kip finds her there. They talk about how much he loves his job and how he wants that for her, but how he doesn't want her working there because that's not her future. He just wanted her to see how much he loves doing his job, and he wants that kind of love for a job for her too. He wants her to find something that she loves doing and to live her life to the fullest. He asks if she's still going to Vegas for the final. She says, of course not. That she needs to cover for him while he's laid up. And he says, nope, she's fired. He will give her severance, but it's up to her to find the best fit for her. Summer is on her way out of the building when she sees Rhett. She had just convinced herself to go find him. But seeing him again was a gut punch, replaying how him cheapening their relationship made her feel. It was like the Rob bullshit all over again, but so, so much worse. He sees her and calls out to her, asking to talk. She says, no thanks. He says he has things to say, and she is going to listen. She's been avoiding him, but they are both there now. He tells her how sorry he is, and also how sorry he is for betraying her trust. He never meant to say those things about them not being something real
Yeah.
because she is it for him. She is everything. That he will do anything to fix this. He will wait as long as it takes. Summer asks how his ribs are and if he still plans on competing. When he says yes, she just nods and leaves. A week later, and Summer is having drinks with her bestie, giving her all the sorry details. Her best friend Willa thinks she should go after the love-struck cowboy. She says maybe he's still planning to ride because he doesn't know what it would do to Summer. Maybe he doesn't know what making her a priority looks like because no one has ever made him a priority. Willa books them a flight to Vegas. At the championship, Rhett is getting ready. He's already in a lot of pain and wondering if this buckle is even worth it. He thinks back to a conversation with his brother about how many is even enough. He already has two. Rhett had always told himself that the moment he got on the back of a bull and felt fear, he knew bull riding was over for him. And as he gets on and feels the fear, instead of being smart, he just tamps it down. He looks up and he sees Summer in the crowd. He doesn't believe it's her at first, just thinks he's making her up, but then she mouths that she loves him too. And he's like, fuck this shit. None of this matters. Only her. And he climbs off the bull. He says he's done, and he walks towards Summer. He finds her in the stands and pulls her into a kiss. Then we have an epilogue. 1 year later. Rhett is a coach for the rodeo circuit now. Summer owns a gym training athletes. Summer and Rhett have built their own house on the ranch property. Winter still hasn't spoken to Summer. Theo's okay. Rhett asks Summer to marry him, and she says yes. And that's our book.
Listen, that just means there is one more left. That's it. And then we get to do it all over again.
Rinse and repeat.
Anyone wants to see the meltdown that's going to cause while we discuss? No, I'm just kidding.
It's like it doesn't usually do a meltdown.
No,
What?
no, no, no. The meltdowns come prior to the wheel when
As
we're
you're
trying
trying
to
to
pick our
find
own
the
books.
wheels. Yeah. Trying to find the books for the wheel.
Anyways, who was your favorite character, Ariel?
My favorite character. Um, the text chain. um,
I mean, Ariel, we've said a dog before,
I
so like I
know.
think that at this point we can pick whoever.
Probably Rhett.
Hmm. When he got his shit together.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
I
You?
agree. Same, same. How about your least favorite?
So there were unlikable characters in this book.
Hmm.
I do want to point out, though, that I had a huge problem with Summer in this book. She was very immature, and she was written very immature
Hmm.
for someone who was, what, like 26. I felt she was written very immature.
Yeah.
and that bothered me, and I was not here for that, and I did not care for her. Um, so obviously I didn't like Rob or Winter or
Right.
the stepmother or anything else, you know what I mean?
Right.
But um and I felt, we didn't get resolutions that we should have, especially like with
Yeah.
Winter and stuff. So that was a bummer. But honestly, I just didn't like Summer.
Yeah, I didn't like the stepmother. Honestly, like I didn't like the dad. Um,
Kip?
I just I don't know. You can't have an affair. Anyways, um
I mean, look at the woman, but
I
he shouldn't have
know,
regardless.
but it's not always just the woman's fault. There is blame on the man too.
No, I'm saying he should have left her first.
Uh, right. So it's just like those people, not the milk people, maybe the milk people. I feel like that was a bit over exaggeration.
Not sure about that. They need someone for their brand who can.
No. Well, maybe they should have vetted him first enough to realize that's the thing. Okay?
He
You
shouldn't have
vet the
signed up for that,
people.
yeah.
Okay? Um, yeah, and I agree though that Summer was
You would think
definitely
that would be their number one question. Do you like milk?
right?
Sorry, but
Come on. That would be like me, I don't know, advertising eggs. The only thing I use them for is baking. But like, I'm not gonna sit there and be like, here's a beautiful scrambled egg or egg a dish. No, absolutely not. I am an egg hater and I don't care. I don't know. I'm sure there's other foods I hate more than that. But I mean, that would be like me advertising any form of seafood because I don't
yeah.
eat seafood. You know what I mean? So,
Anyways,
anyways, sorry to go off on a rant there. Amazon gives us a 4.3 and Goodreads a 4.0.
so I know you read this last year. Are
Hmm.
you sticking with your rating that you rated this a year ago, or are you rating separately?
I don't remember what I rated it a year
Okay,
ago.
well, what are you rating it now then?
I might go, honestly, after continuing to discuss, probably like a 3.5. So I think I rated it a 4 the last time.
You did.
I think I'm gonna drop it down to a 3.5. Um, because this is the kind of I liked the story and I liked the like other stuff, but obviously like oh, by the way, another person I fucking hate, the doctor. Biggest piece of shit person on the planet. Sorry.
Yeah.
Anyways, um, but it's one of those things again, like when I read things, I read them and then I'm like, oh yeah, and then you're in
But
that
then when
moment.
we
But then like
discuss it,
when we
yeah.
discuss, that typically changes my rating a little bit. So I'm gonna drop it down to a 3.5.
Yeah. So, same thing. My gut instinct was a 4, but like when I had to talk about, or even when I was like explaining about it, and I was like, oh, and I didn't stop and talk about that like I should have. I was actually really kind about it this time, but I was like, wait, we never got any resolution for this. We never got any resolution for this. You know what I mean? In my head, I was like racking it up, and I was like, I hate that shit. Like I hate the lack of
Yeah.
continuation or continuity and whatnot. And it does drive me crazy. And honestly, so it was hard for me to balance because I was really into the whole cowboy thing and the rodeo thing. And I was into the little bomb drops. That I was all
Hmm.
into. Her immaturity just took me way down. And
Yeah.
the weird bits.
Yeah.
So I'm almost tempted to be like a 3.75,
Honestly,
but
that's what I almost said. Because because I feel like it's higher than a 3.5, but less than a 4. But then I didn't want to do like a weird 3.75.
And that's where I'm at too. I didn't want to make it weird.
Yeah. But I mean, yeah. So I mean, ratings change over time, and like, yeah, I read this last year, and actually, I read book two. Um, oh my God. So I borrowed this book April 6th of 2024, like
Really?
literally
That's so
exactly a year
funny.
ago. And the second one also April 6th of 2024.
That's
So
hilarious.
that's so funny to me. Um, but yeah.
That's hilarious.
So peppers, Ariel.
Honestly, it wasn't super crazy for me. I'm gonna say a poblano, maybe a poblano and a half. There wasn't
I
much
was gonna
going
say,
on.
I was gonna go jalapeno only because of the phone sex where he like ate her out on the phone. I don't know, but
Yeah.
there was nothing crazy. But we can always have different spice skills in
Yeah.
our
Yeah.
opinion.
I think we only had like one real scene and the rest was like foreplay kind of thing, except for like the
Yeah.
epilogue. But yeah, that's why I was
Survivability.
throwing it in there.
Mm.
But I would be
Well, I mean, he was
just
throwing
fine.
it in there too. Sorry.
Yeah. I would be just fine.
I would be living my damn life.
Oh yeah.
So, next week.
Oh yeah. It's our last book. It's our last book. We don't even have to spin because it's the only one left, baby.
Yes.
And this book was chosen. I put this one on the wheel specifically for Miss NJ
Yes.
because um she is always talking about this author because she
Mhm.
loves her.
I
And
actually got a chance to meet
I
this author last year.
I had downloaded a lot of these books, but I just hadn't gotten a chance to read them yet. And I was like, I need to just force myself to read it for Angie because hello. So we're going to read, not only are we going to read it, but we're going to read it and talk about it. So next week, we're going to read Between Commitment and Betrayal by Shane Rose. Yes. My father's business partner will do anything for the empire they built together, even marry me. Declan Hardy, All-American heartthrob and retired NFL billionaire, is my complete opposite. He's commanding where I'm cooperative, spontaneous while I'm deliberate, loud when I stay quiet. The only thing we have in common is that both our names are on my father's will. He'll inherit the fitness and hospitality empire, and I'll keep the one thing I hold dear as long as I marry him with conditions. 1 year of fake marriage, 1 year of living together, 1 year of pretending I belong in this luxury lifestyle. But stipulations are never that simple, especially when I can't tell if his kisses are fake or if I'm pretending when I kiss him back. And as more conditions arise, it's clear there's a fine line between commitment and betrayal, and neither of us knows where that line falls. So we have
Yeah.
billionaire, forced proximity, fake marriage, and father's basically best friend, business partner. Yes. So,
I'm
yes,
excited.
join us next week for our last book on the wheel. And if you have suggestions for our next one, please let us know.
Yeah.
And either way, make sure to keep reading.
And keep it smutty.
How are you?
I'm all right. My eye is still kind of swollen, so that's really annoying. It's better now. So I have this, okay, so I have this weighted eye mask because why not? And I was like, oh, I need to like heat compress my eye, right? I was like, oh, can I put my weighted eye mask in the microwave and then strap it on so it's like an eye patch, but so it's still weighted on my eyeball? Yes, I can, by the way, and it helped a lot. And it was really great.
Is asking him to give her sort of a refresher slash crash course, asking how scoring works. Apparently her stepmother is a surgeon, and she did stay.
This is why we don't like men. Oops.
This is why we can't have nice things. Crotch shot. Darling. This is why we shouldn't be trusted to do anything as adults. Oh, fuck.
Oh, fuck.